I was sitting down in a program and somebody was anchoring the program and the person was speaking emphatically. Thank God Evangelist Mike-Bamiloye is here. So you understand that people are saying it's AYAMATANGA, people are saying it's AYAMATANGA. But I kept on saying it is I am at anger. And thank God Evangelist Mike-Bamiloye is here. You see, the real thing is I am at anger. And I could not stand up and argue with him. So I was just smiling.
It's J Mikey.
Hi guys, my name is Mike-Bamiloye, aka J Mikey, and in this video we are going to be trashing out two major things, which is AYAMATANGA versus AYAMATANGA. So a few years ago, two separate things happened. There was a wave of new information flying around that, the popular phrase AYAMATANGA is actually I am at anger. And everybody was like, woo, new information. Are you serious? My childhood. And then it was all over the place. And a lot of people gobbled up this information like it was some new revelation. While some people were like, nah, no way, it can't be that. It is AYAMATANGA, not AYAMATANGA. I'm pretty sure that those who came up with this idea or those who easily fell for it are people who are probably weren't born when Agbara Nla was made. But let's move on. So the second thing that happened was that a while back, I put up a tweet talking about the evil effects of some of these Marvel movies that we watch, the effect on children specifically, and why parents need to be careful as to what they show their children. I'll make a short video about that much later on. So after putting up that tweet, a lot of people agreed with it, and a lot of people were like, this is true, etc. But as the tweet got popular, a mob of angry keypad warriors started attacking. It was wild. So they first started attacking me. Then not long after, they started attacking my dad. And then after that, they started attacking Mount Zion Faith Ministry. They're like, what movies have you people made? The movies were scarring. The movies traumatized my childhood. The Agbara Nla was a terrible movie. So how dare you talk about any other kind of movie? It was just all over the place. Bullets flying left, right, and center. I mean, at that time, everybody was just calling me that I like violence on Twitter. I'm like, I mean, if they say something that is wrong, I want to correct them and say that no, this isn't right. I mean, so it was a mess. But I was glad that the message was passed. But then I noticed that some things happened during that period. I quickly realized that a lot of people left the message in the tweet, and then they started attacking my parents, attacking my family, attacking the ministry. And this is how you see people who are very immature on Twitter. They don't face the subject of discussion. They rather look for something around you to attack and insult just to get to you. All right, that's how some people act on Twitter, and it's really sad. But then not long after that, Mount Zion Faith Ministry started trending on Twitter, and then a lot of people had a lot to say about it. In fact, I noticed that a lot of people were talking based on the trend. Oh, Mount Zion is trending, let me say something. What do I say? Let me look around for what most people are saying. It traumatized my childhood. Yes, Mount Zion films traumatized my childhood. And there was this film they did. In fact, someone was saying Mount Zion films made me traumatized about birthdays and taking sweet from people. I was like, okay, please tell us which film Mount Zion did that traumatized you about collecting sweets from people. The guy disappeared. Wow, so of course he disappeared. So a lot of people had a lot to say back then. Oh, it traumatized my childhood. Oh, it affected my childhood. And it was slowly turning into Mount Zion film equals horror movies of the 90s. That was what it was slowly turning into. But then it was a bit suppressed thanks to the numerous people who actually watched Mount Zion movies and knew more about it, and the others who posted my thread of recent Mount Zion movies, because that was something I did. While this trend was going on, I kept on posting and reposting Mount Zion movies from that time till now. I had a whole thread of Mount Zion movies, and I told people, oh, you think it's traumatizing you? Watch this one. If you think it still traumatizes you, watch this one. And a lot of people retweeted that, and those who actually know Mount Zion movies also spoke out, and it was an interesting period. The purpose of this video is to do two things. Number one, to clear the air and to answer that long-standing question that has been answered severally, but a lot of people just don't want to listen. Is it AYAMATANGA or I am at anger? That's the first thing. And then the second thing this video is meant to do is to give the younger generation a bit of history into how Agbara Nla came about, the situation surrounding the movie, and lastly, what God used the movie to do in that era, in the movie industry, in the ministry, and in Nigeria and the world in general. Because a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't really know what happened. Many people don't even know what the movie is about. But what they've seen on social media is it traumatized the childhood. It's a horror movie. It scared my childhood. It scarred my childhood. So this video is to bring to light what the movie is about and to let people understand the situation surrounding that movie. And if truly the movie was the horror movie of that time, or if that was the only thing that scared people, and so on and so forth. So I was able to interview Daddy Mike-Bamiloye on this topic just to hear from him directly. But before we get into that, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Click the subscription button, like this video in advance because it's a very interesting interview. Yeah, turn on the notification button. Also do the same for Damdola Mike-Bamiloye's YouTube channel because that's where you get all our latest Mount Zion movies. All right, over to the interview. Thank you for taking the time to grant us this interview, sir. I know you need no introduction, but for the sake of formalities, please introduce yourself, sir.
I am Evangelist Mike-Bamiloye, President of Mount Zion Faith Ministries, and I'm Executive Director of Mount Zion Films Productions, and the Director of Mount Zion Institutes of Christian Drama, and so on and so forth.
So the first question I asked was, being that a lot of people don't know much about Agbara Nla, especially Generation Z, Gen Z, who were probably born over 7 years after the movie was done. Can you tell us what the movie Agbara Nla is about? Or what was the movie about?
Yes, Agbara Nla, it was a television serial. At that time, that was 1993, it was not like this moment. There were very limited television stations existing at that time. For example, in the western region, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, Lagos, Kwara, there were about just one television stations that are very prominent, except Lagos, that had about 3 television channels at that time. So each of those television stations in each of those states broadcast Agbara Nla at that time. Agbara Nla was sponsored. So in that case, it means that there was no YouTube, there was no social media, there was no cable television at that time. So people were restricted to watch just one television channel in each of the states. So that was the reason why it went viral at that time, because people were limited to watch that television channel that is broadcasting Agbara Nla at that time. And so it was a television serial that ran every week in each of those states. And the movie is just about the manifestation of the power of God. But what brought about the movie actually was that previously, 1982-83, there was a television serial also. That was a secular television serial, but it also went viral. Whenever they were showing the movie at that time, there would be artificial curfew. People would leave the street, and it went like that all over the western region at that time. People would leave the street would be deserted. That was 1982-83. And the title of that television serial at that time was Arelu. Arelu was done by Jim Aliu. It was a secular movie, but it was extremely captivating to people because there were a lot of real manifestations, propagation of real traditional powers and real occultic powers at that time. And it has a lot of spiritual dimension. Because at that time, it went viral and a lot of people were even copying what they were seeing inside the movie. The people were copying it, what they were seeing inside the movie at that time, because it was so very strong and very powerful. That was 1982-83. At that time, the thing went like that. It became so famous. Fast forward to 1992-93. Between 1982 and 1993, when Agbara Nla came out, there were a series of television serial that are secular television serial that were not propagating the gospel at all, that were propagating the power of the evil forces, that were projecting traditional evil powers at that time. There were a series of television serials that came up after Arelu that were following the same pattern. There was the Agbari, there was the Yonponyonrin, Opaje, Agbeleku, and the other movies were coming up, Kotu Orun. They were all following that trend. So it was like there was an overshadowing of some evil powers at that time as a result of such. There are good Yoruba dramas, there were good Yoruba movies, but those particular ones carry some spiritual dimensions that influence the life of many people. People are looking for powers because of what they saw in the movies. Now, 1993 came. It became the desire of Mount Zion at that time. I had that strong body in me to do something also for Jesus. That's our desire. Our ministry began 1985. So the ministry started in the middle of that wave at that time. And so there was that hunger, that task that, won't we do something for Jesus? There must be something we do for Jesus. I can remember that when that movie Arelu was showing, I was teaching in the secondary school. The secondary school was in a village. My fellow teachers would leave the village to go and watch Arelu in the city. They would spend money and take the motor to the city to go and watch Arelu and then come back the next morning to show you how powerful it was. So the ministry began in the middle of that wave, and the passion was to do something for Jesus. So we just have that hunger. It's like jealousy for God. Jesus must do something too. He must also do a television serial. That was what was just in our heart. But not as a competition. But that the Church of God might have something to watch. And so the Lord helped me. I went to write the script. I wrote the script. The title of the script at that time was Agbara Nla. Agbara, which was a long title. Agbara Nla. I wrote it like that. Even when we were editing the movie, it was edited like that. Agbara Nla. It was when our technical director, Pastor Kayode Bode, was editing the movie. Then he took it to television station, and the television said it was a long title. We should cut the title. Then it was now agreed that we call it Agbara Nla.
Wow. Agbara.
So it was then Agbara Nla. So that was what brought about that television serial. And so when the television serial now started, it repeated the same thing that happened in 1982. The streets were deserted. It submerged all those influences completely. It was as if there was an overshadowing power of God everywhere that submerged the previous power that was in the air. It submerged it. And so there was a repetition of what happened in 1982. Streets were deserted. People were parking beside the road to watch the movie again. And so that was how it came up. And since then, I don't think there have been a Yoruba movie or television serial that have submerged that. It has not. So that was how it began.
All right, so the next question I asked was this, based on the fact that after that tweet that I made, a lot of people came out to say Monza movies scarred their childhood, Monza movies traumatized their childhood. So the question here is, what does he think about that? What was the feedback? What was the response of people who watched Agbara Nla back in the days?
Agbara Nla was a Yoruba television serial, 1993. 1994, the Lord instructed us to go back on film location again and reshoot. So I wrote the scripts all over again in English. And so we reshot the entire movie again in English. And it was called Ultimate Power. And so the Ultimate Power also was broadcast in the East, like Anambra, Edo, Bini, Port Harcourt, Rivers State. And it carried the same effect that we had in the West. The same effect happened in the East. And now it was not limited only to Nigeria. It went beyond the Nigerian borders to the Africans in diaspora. Now, what was actually really strong about that Agbara Nla, it was that it was a direct attack against forces of darkness. The revelations of the secrets of the devil. It was like there's something that people are not so used to before. But that accusation that it scared my child is because the children were exposed to such drama at that time. The way the children were exposed to the previous one in 1982. In 1982, the same thing, it was scary because it was about the spirit beings, about the forces of evil, the familiar spirit, the spirit in the forest, spirit in the air. That was what those movies were in 1982. And the subsequent ones that came after, all these Agbari, Yokoyori, Agbeleku, and Apagi, all those ones are also about spirit beings. So children normally will be scared about spirit beings. But the elderless don't say they are scared. Okay, that was then. But now, it is the same thing at this present time. Why is it that at this generation, children are not scared of horror movies? In fact, what some people see in many horror movies now are more bloody, more scary than Agbara Nla. So Agbara Nla was mild. There was no shedding of blood in Agbara Nla. There was no cutting of head. There was no zombie tearing people into pieces. But today, they are existing in movies, and children are still watching it, and they're not traumatized. So what happened to Agbara Nla? So I will just say that no, it can't be so. At that time, that was the level, the exposition to the forces of evil, powers of darkness. But it was nothing strange compared to what is happening today.
I mean, that's kind of what I was saying when I realized that some of these people were just following the trend and just chasing clout. Because if you think about it, if you see any clip from Agbara Nla even today, all right, you see any of those clips, and then you see the so-called action movies, some of the action movies that we have today. Very typical example, Venom. Venom was rated PG-13. And if you see the beast-looking face of this thing, all right, and then they say another creepy movie, scary movie. Well, I'm like, we have worse things right now compared to that. It just proves to show that, yes, the movie was a bit scary for younger ones because they were exposed to it, but that in no way excludes the validity of the message that was being passed across back then. So next question I asked was, some people claim that Mount Zion movies paint Yoruba culture in a bad light, portray Yoruba culture wrongly, they diss Yoruba culture. And I mean, I get that a couple of times on Twitter, and it kind of baffles me when I see that, because I usually wonder, what are they talking about? So I asked that Mike also, what does he think about people who claim that Mount Zion movies ridicule or bash Yoruba culture?
We are not rubbishing Yoruba culture. We are rubbishing the powers of the devil. And we will rubbish it 10 times 100. Whenever we say it, we will rubbish it. We are not rubbishing Yoruba cultures. We wear Yoruba clothes. How come people love Abejoye? It's not about Yoruba culture. How come that Abejoye carried Yoruba culture to America with all the beads and the horsewigs? How come he carries the culture to America and he was still maintaining the culture in America? So Mozart is not rubbishing Yoruba culture. If you watch Esiajoji, you will see the display of Yoruba culture. The prostration, the dancing, the throne, the palace, the display of costumes.
Gods are dead too.
All of gods are dead. Gods are dead. Wow. Gods are dead. It's real traditional attire. It's an English movie. But the English movie actually really portrayed Yoruba culture. So it is not rubbishing Yoruba culture. We are only rubbishing manifestation of the powers of the devil inside Yoruba culture.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. Then second to the last question is, what advice can you give the younger generation that are looking for purpose, looking for what to do that can grant them that heavenly relevance? Because a lot of youth always wonder, I don't know what to do. I want to be useful. I want to serve. What advice can you give them?
Everyone has the gift of God in him. There is no one that does not have the gift of God planted inside of him or her by God himself. Everybody has. Some gifts may not be relevant, but they are important. For example, the gift of David was not so relevant to his brothers, to his family. And what was the gift? He sings, he plays harps. So it wasn't relevant to the family. He was pushed to go and be rearing the animals. So he goes about with his harp, playing the harp under the tree where the sheep are feeding. So it wasn't relevant. But that was that same gift that was recommended before the king. The king needed it, and they said, there is a man, mighty man of Veloratis, is a skillful man in playing the harp. So every single youth has a gift that God has given to him or her. But that gift must be submitted to God before it can be relevant. There are some gifts that are relevant to the world. Every good gift is from God, but the devil may take hold of it. But one may submit it to the use of the devil. Instead of using it to glorify God, one may use it to glorify the devil. But how can you be relevant with the gift you carry? First of all, know Jesus. Have understanding of who Jesus is, because he is the owner of that gift. Only him can empower that gift to fulfill purpose. Know the giver of the gift first, and then you will be able to empower the gift that is given to you. But many times, when we discover our gift, many times when the youth discover their gift, they want to make use of it themselves. They want to use it to fulfill their own personal purpose. They want to use it to put food on their table. That is the major slogan. But the gift is not meant to put food on your table. It's meant to feed the whole world. When you are feeding the whole world, you can't go hungry.
Your gift is not meant to put food on your table, but it is meant to feed the whole world. When you feed the whole world, you cannot go hungry. If you didn't take anything home today, please take that home. Take that statement home. Your gift is meant to feed the whole world, not to put food on your table. If you feed the whole world, you cannot go hungry. Hallelujah.
But when you are putting food on your table, is for yourself and your family. Maybe they are just 6. It means you have personally limited your gift. But when you hand over your gift to Jesus, understand Jesus himself. Know him. When you know him, he will direct the use of that gift and empower it to feed nations, not to feed you, not to put food on your table.
So now the golden question, the question that has to be answered once and for all. Is it AYAMATANGA or I am at anger?
Some people have even spoken to my face. I was sitting down in a program and somebody was anchoring the program and the person was speaking emphatically. Thank God Evangelist Mike-Bamiloye is here. So you understand that people are saying it's AYAMATANGA, people are saying it's AYAMATANGA. But I kept on saying it is I am at anger. And thank God Evangelist Mike-Bamiloye is here. You see, the real thing is I am at anger. And I could not stand up and argue with him. So I was just smiling. But it is not I am at anger. It is not I am at anger.
So people will explain, they'll say because she's always furious and angry.
No, it's not. It was people that put it like that. People gave that meaning to it. It is AYAMATANGA. AYAMATANGA. Tanga.
So I guess we have that answer now. I guess we know the answer now, ladies and gentlemen. It's AYAMATANGA. Can we put it to rest? Can this thing go to rest? Finally. Okay? All right. And then the bonus question here is, how does Daddy Mike come up with these chants, especially the the incantations in quotes that he uses in the movies? How does he come up with it?
I will come about it. Chanting.
Chanting.
Incantation. Now, the question is this. Which one is incantation in all of those things that you see? In Agbara Nla, they are not incantations at all. They are just manifestation of God's wisdom. There is just manifestation of God's wisdom in the use of Yoruba language. Many of those words are not incantation at all. They are just words twisting by God's wisdom. Wordplay. Let me give you one illustration. For example, many times I've been asked, "Are you saying incantation?" I will ask, I said, "Give me one incantation." It's not incantation, but because of the manifestation of the wisdom of God and the way it is written, it's like incantation. Like in Agbara Nla now, when we said, Shawu was saying, it is just normal in Yoruba language. Oriamo is butter. You put butter in the sun. It melts. Then that is cobweb. And then broom. So cobweb attacked the broom. The broom demolish it. So I say it's a wordplay. Then I said, let me give you one more thing. In Ideshu, I was one demon that was Iroboku, Abasopepe, Irokwete, Abasogereye, Irobaka, Abasogeje. Don't like Iroboku. Now Iroboku in Yoruba language is armchair, cushion chair, puchi chair. But and Irobaka in Yoruba language is that is surround me, please surround me, surround me. And then Irotete is something that is too soft. Now, when you look, and you now combine the three words together, it's like the name of demons. You now make it as name of demons. All those things are possible with the wisdom of God. It's work of art. The wisdom of God and the anointing of the Holy Spirit will make something so real, so realistic.
There you have it, folks. We've come to the end of the interview. I hope we've learned a thing or two. This has been really enlightening. I mean, it was really enlightening for me. I learned a whole lot from the interview. Things I didn't even know. And I've been with him for 30 years. 31 years now. And I'm just learning some of the things that he had to say. And I'm very glad that he gave us that opportunity to interview him. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. How has Mount Zion movies shaped your orientation about God, life, etc., etc.? Are you still traumatized from the old movies? How many Mount Zion movies have you seen? I would like you to put your answer in the comment section. How many Mount Zion movies have you seen? Please share your answers, and don't forget, of course, to like, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and turn on the notification in case I upload another vlog. And finally, I just need you to do this for me. All right, this is one favor I ask of you. You might not comment, you might not like, you might not say anything, but please share this video to people who are still having that argument about what it is, if it's AYAMATANGA or AYAMATANGA. Also, you can share this video for people who genuinely are still stuck in the past as to the movies Mazan has done decades ago, who are not really updated as to the recent movies that we've done, because there are a lot of amazing movies that are done for this generation, for this era, all right, that are relevant, even as relevant as the ones that have been done in the early 90s and the late 90s. Okay, so those who are only familiar with the old movies, you can show them this video to have an idea of those old movies and also the recent movies that we have on ground. I've put a link to the YouTube channel Mike-Bamiloye so that you can check out the movies that we have there. So make sure you share this video with your friends and family, even your enemies, all right? So let's help neutralize this misconception and misinformation that tends to want to fly around. Till next time, my name is Mike-Bamiloye, aka J Mikey, and I'll be catching you in the next vlog. Peace out.